These are all of the supercurriculars that I did for my personal statement that helped me get into LSE Economics. Even if you don't want to study economics, you might want to save this video for later because it will give you some ideas. So the first thing that I think really helped me and gave me something to talk about in my personal statement was the fact that I did an EPQ. And no, I did not just write it about the financial crisis, however it did get a mention. I wrote my EPQ on how big bang deregulation in financial markets here in the UK in the 1980s might have contributed to the financial crisis. So it was low-key a bit about the financial crisis, but try to do your EPQ on something a bit more niche because it gives you something to talk about and centre your personal statement around. I did a lot of reading for my EPQ. I did a lot of research for it. I got full marks in the end. I kind of wish that I had done it on something a little bit more specific and a bit more niche and something I was a bit more interested in. However, I did another project. So I did an HE Plus project with the University of Cambridge. This is like a higher education plus project, and I did mine on uncertainty in the future of non-governmental organisations and the way in which they are financed. So the funding for NGOs, how is it going to look moving forward? That was actually really interesting. I really enjoyed doing that. On reading, I did inevitably read books for my personal statement. However, they weren't the most advanced pieces of literature. I actually tried to read The Wealth of Nations when I was in year 12 and I had to put it down because I didn't understand the language that was being used in it because it was very difficult. I read Talking to My Daughter About the Economy by, oh goodness, that was my ringed line. Anyway, right, that's broken now. I read Talking to My Daughter About the Economy by Yanis Varoufakis. Yanis Varoufakis is a fantastic author to read if you're trying to get into economics. He lays things out in very simple terms, and that's the first economics book I ever read when I was 60. However, I just read Techno-Feudalism. Fantastic book. Really, really good read if you're trying to get into economics. I then read, lo and behold, Donut Economics by Kate Raworth. It's one of the big three that everybody talks about in their personal statement. You got Donut Economics, Undercover Economists, and Freakonomics. And like I mentioned in a previous video, they are not bad books. They're very good books. That's why everybody reads them. But unfortunately, everybody reads them and everybody talks about them. I then went on to read Road to Serfdom by Friedrich Hayek, who obviously studied at the LSE. I don't necessarily think they let me in because I read Hayek. But I read that for some context for my EPQ to understand some more neoliberal economic ideology that was floating around during the 80s. Okay, running out of time here. I did the Sutton Trust Economics Summer School at the University of Cambridge. I did the Academic Enrichment Programme at the University of Birmingham. I did work experience at my local Chambers of Commerce at EY, and I entered the FCDO and RES Economics essay competitions.